Good morning, everybody. Stefan Molyneux. I'm here completely alone in the room.
Definitely alone.
I,
I
ah!
said I'd be quiet, but I lied. No.
Yeah. So my daughter here, Isabella, is here. She's going to answer some questions because, as parents, we're kind of providing a service to our kids. And you always want to hear from the customers. I love hearing from you guys, the audience. And of course, we like hearing from the kids as well. And I just wanted to give a very brief introduction to the general philosophy that I've taken with regards to parenting. I refer to it as peaceful parenting, and that's what it is, without a doubt. And the general idea behind peaceful parenting is I listened to what I was told as a kid, and I implemented it, which apparently is a huge sin in society. So when I was a kid, I was told, don't use force to get what you want. Don't push, don't hit, don't yell, don't scream, and for heaven's sakes, don't call people names. I mean, names were like the Molotov cocktails thrown in other people's personality tents. That was really, really bad. So don't use force to get what you want. Don't use names. Find a way to negotiate. Don't take, don't steal, don't lock other kids in closets. Don't hit them, of course. And so when I was a kid, I thought, well, one of the most dangerous things a child can do is listen to the moral instruction of their elders and actually implement it when they get older. Ooh, that's pretty bad. So when I grew up, I was like, okay, so I was told all these things by my elders, which means that my elders really believed in those things. And although I experienced violence in my childhood at home and to a tiny degree, well, I was caned once or twice in boarding school, but other than that, not in school. So I thought, okay, well, my home is sort of off the charts as far as things go. It's off the reservation as far as the morals go. There was a minor hiccup in boarding school, but for the most part, that's what society says. I'd turn on the TV and I would see all of these parents on TV, always negotiating with their kids, always reasoning with their kids, never yelling at their kids, never hitting their kids, never calling their kids names or ignoring or neglecting them, or the parents were always reasonable and engaged and peaceful. So I was like, okay, well, this is what I was told as a kid. This is the kind of parenting that everyone sees. This is obviously the kind of parenting that people want to see, because if nobody had wanted to see reasonable, peaceful, family tie style parenting, then it wouldn't have existed. We'd have seen other things. So yeah, it was like, this is what society is all about. And so before I became a parent, I started the show, started talking about peaceful parenting. I was also, I grew up seeing a whole bunch of movies and shows and reading books and so on about people getting out of abusive relationships, right? So there'd be some woman in peril, this woman of the week in peril, who would be had some mean guy who was controlling her and bullying her, and next thing you know, she'd be plotting her escape and getting out and all of that. So that seemed pretty clear. I remember watching Kindergarten Cop, where Arnold Schwarzenegger beats up an abusive dad. So it seemed to me that and this is what society says, right? The care and protection of children is all we care about, and I believe the children are our future and so on, right?
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, well, this is what we do as a society. We're all about the protection of children, getting out of abusive relationships. And so I began talking about this in my show. And, for those of you who've been around for a while, I wouldn't say it went spectacularly well to reflect society's values back to them. So, but nonetheless, you've got to stay the course. When you're into ethics, integrity, and virtue, you find out what the right thing to do is, and then you do it. And if you got to take some consequences, well, that's just the nature of the game when it comes to ethics. So, the philosophy of peaceful parenting is we have to treat our kids the very best of anyone in society, because they're the only people in relationships with no choice. I mean, other than our, quote, relationship with the government, which is not exactly a choice. But yeah, what we do is, I was also told, of course, where you have greater power, you have greater moral responsibility. Like if you're the boss and you ask out your secretary for a date, that's not good, because you hold her career, her paycheck in your hand, and it's not an equal relationship. And so where you have greater power, you have greater moral responsibility, and there's no greater power difference in the world than that between parent and child. If you don't like your country, you can move countries. If you don't like your taxes, you can reduce your income. And if you don't like your job, you can quit. If you don't like your girlfriend or boyfriend, you can break up. And so you absolutely have choice in all of your adult relationships. But children, right? You didn't vote for me, right?
Didn't choose anything.
Didn't choose anything. Just happened to be born into this family. And so I have the greatest power differential. I have the most authority, so to speak. And Isabella, and everybody's child, is in a completely unchosen relationship. So what I said pretty early on to Izzy, as I said, look, I have to parent like if you could choose any parent in the world, you'd choose me, right? I mean, that's you have to have that thought experiment, right? That you could imagine
so far I'd choose him.
So far you'd choose me, all right? Not maybe later today. Who knows?
Today, no,
right?
idea. But yeah, now.
But that's the thing, right? So just you got a parent like your kids could wake up every morning, snap their fingers, and replace you with Willy Wonka. Or the guy ran Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
I've heard of that.
Right, yeah.
Read that?
We read that a long time ago.
That was scary.
It was, yeah. Nothing more fun than a creepy unmarried guy who wants to hang out with kids. So, yeah, so that's the general philosophy behind peaceful parenting. And the wonderful thing, of course, is we know that when you don't use force, you have to find other creative ways to deal with things, right? If you're not going to steal things, you have to find a way to add value so that people will trade you for stuff. When we got rid of force in employer, quote, employee relationships by ending slavery, we got the modern world. It was all very cool. And when you don't have force on the table, aggression, force, control, dominance, bullying. Have you ever been gone in a timeout?
No.
Ever been locked in your room?
No.
Have I ever raised my voice at you?
No.
Have I ever yelled at you?
No.
Have I ever called you a name other than boo?
No.
Right. So
no, you've called me love. No.
Oh yes. So we don't, you don't do it. You don't use force against children. I mean, it's one of these things that should be pretty obvious, but it's obviously still quite controversial because the vast majority of parents, not this group included, of course, do use force in their parenting. Just straight up spanking and so on is unfortunately a very, very big deal. So just wanted to give that very brief introduction. I know everyone's shocked that it was in fact brief. Nobody more than
me.
Yes, nobody more than Izzy is shocked that it's brief. So I'm very happy if you guys wanted to give us an introduction. Don't forget, I will mute. Don't forget to unmute yourself to have a chat. And I guess we might as well go clockwise. Sorry, Luna, that makes you a little bit on the last side. Apologize for that. But if you want to go Tim, Natalie, Jared, Luna, if you guys wanted to introduce yourself, a little bit of your history with peaceful parenting. I guess if you are a parent, might be worth mentioning. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, hi. My name is Tim, and I was on a couple of the crypto shows, and I'll do whatever it takes to get on the show. I'll have crypto. I'll have kids. Just get me on the show.
Rent some kids, yeah, with crypto.
Yeah, and then so I have 3 kids, 1, 3, and 5. They're all girls, and the show has really helped me think a lot about peaceful parenting. And I think that's really necessary. Like, I have my regrets about, parts of the time that I've been a parent. And it has been something I really regret, like a lot. And I'm really thankful that, on the show, it comes up on your show like a couple of times a month at least, where you'll like be very convicting about it. And without that, I don't know if it would have stopped so early with the spanking. And so I just really appreciate that my kids are going to have a better childhood. I'm going to have a better conversations with them. Like my oldest one, I used to say, oh, well, spanking's bad, but I struggle with it. And then she goes, I know, you need to stop, but the other day she said, you don't spank anymore. Like it was something that was in the past that doesn't happen anymore. And I'm just really glad that that's how she sees me now, that doesn't happen anymore. So that's a little bit of where I'm at.
I appreciate that. Thank you. What are the ages of your kids?
Yeah, 1, 3, and 5. And I just want to say, like, yeah, I never spanked until there was more than one. And then also the ages between like 2 and 3, like they're just, if you didn't grow up, like I didn't grow up with little kids around. So if you're not I used to what that age range is like you could be surprised. Like you could think, you really need to ready yourself for like parenthood, because when you're actually in it, it's different than the way you think it is. So
I just also wanted to mention that we can actually hear your children in the background, specifically not allowed. No, just kidding. The more the
Yeah.
merrier. And
Some
what
extra
was
guests on the show.
extra guests on the show? What was your spanking regularity and what grounds? And was there something about? I'm sorry, I know we get into this conversation. No, we'll come back to that. No, we'll come back to that. Okay, if we wanted to go to the next person, a quick intro, if you don't mind, and then we'll get into the cues from the audience and stuff that I have as questions.
Can you hear me?
Yes, feel free to speak up. You sound like somebody who's not standing out in a restaurant at the moment, but go for it.
Oh, all right. My name is Natalie, and I am mom to 3 kids. One who is my daughter is newly 7. My son is just about 4, and then I have a 19-month-old son. So 1 girl, 2 boys, and it's a fun it's a fun ride, but it is nothing like becoming a parent has taught me so much that I am not in control of everything, right? Like I have 3 small people that have their own ideas, their own preferences, their own personalities, and that's something I have to remind myself all the time. Like, oh, it's not personal that they don't want to do this thing that I'm trying to get them to do. They have their own agenda, and that's what they're supposed to have. That they're supposed to be exploring and testing and asking questions, and
well, and of course we all grew up with my way or the highway, right? And so actually negotiating with people, it's just like, this is the parent's will. You're supposed to do what the parent wants, and if you don't do what the parent wants, they escalate until you comply, and not doing that is quite a challenge.
Yes, absolutely. And then I just wanted to say that somebody shared your show with me back before I was a parent, and I'm really grateful for that. And I had a chance to put some things into action with I used to babysit or take care of kids, and I was able to put some of that into action before I had my own kids, and saw how just how much it made sense and how effective it is to why would you take something like that you intimately know about a child and use it against them, for punishments or whatever, like that, like how damaging is that for, relationship and connection, which is really the only thing you have to, help get your child on board with what you want them to do, is your connection and their trust in you. And so why would you erode that? Why would you risk that to get short-term compliance? So anyway, it's been really wonderful to have your show as a resource over the years, and I really appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here today.
Appreciate that. Sorry, you want to say it?
I wanted to say about your kids with their opinions and choosing everything they do and stuff. I'm definitely a lot like that.
Yes, indeed.
So I remember we did in the spring last year, we did those videos. I was at the tadpoles, and I was growing them and hatching them and stuff like that, right? So my mom was not a huge fan of me picking up stuff from nature and
well, tadpoles and disease, we've all got a little terrified of that. And also when you would go when we were in China and you'd go to the bat cave. No,
okay, that was never a thing, and I've never been in China.
But yeah, so you were saying about
well, I mean,
mom?
it's just I catch a lot of critters and amphibians and stuff, and whenever we go to tropical places, lizards are all mine. And my mom's definitely not a huge fan of that. But
how much did mom want you to grab the lizard the size of a T-Rex in Australia?
Okay, it wasn't the size of a T-Rex.
Sorry, larger than a T-Rex.
Much. It was
my
quite
mistake.
big. Let's just put it that way.
It really was.
Not much at all.
Not much at all.
I touched it, and she's like, "Okay, you can let go now."
Yeah.
But I think it's really important for kids to have their own ideas and opinions, and for you to let that happen, and I don't know, ask them more about it and talk to them about it and stuff, because I mean, all this creative stuff, the camera the laptop or tablet or whatever you're using came from creative ideas and
that's true.
interesting stuff. Maybe your kids could be like some great inventor. But if you just crush all the like the creativity and ideas and stuff, then that probably will be way less likely to happen.
Yeah, we end up with less cool stuff in the world because people are just kind of shelled up and like armadillo, like rolling into a ball kind of thing. So
yeah,
appreciate that and thank you. I'm not sure how you got time off on a Sunday from 3 kids, but we'll obviously get back into where they duct taped to the ceiling or something like that, which is actually kind of cool. We'll see a little sign come down from above, need pancakes, Mom, or something like that because it's Sunday. All right, if we wanted to move on, I think was it Jared who was next? No, sorry, yeah, it was Jared. Yeah.
Hi there, folks. My name is Jared Woodard. I am not a parent. Would love to be in the future. If there's any available ladies that are looking, let me know. And my interest is from the show, from philosophy, and I just want to be coming at this from a more philosophical side. I have babysat for good friends. I've seen this peaceful parenting in practice, and how great, how wonderful it is. I unfortunately did not grow up with peaceful parents like so many other people, and it's thanks to Steph that I got, to see the other side of that and these much, much greater arguments. And really eternally grateful for that and just happy to participate.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Luna, for your patience. Go for it.
Okay, hi, I'm Luna. I just want to start off by saying I'm pretty nervous. I've been listening to Freedomain for 11 years now. And Steph has really shaped who I am as a person and definitely as a parent. So I'm going to try not to cry.
Crying is not allowed. There's no crying in philosophy. Go ahead.
So I have a 2-year-old daughter. She just turned 2 on last Sunday. And I have a 9-month-old son. And we've been raising them peacefully since birth. I've had a lot of time to think about how I wanted to be a parent. So in addition to Freedomain, I also listen to Janet Lansbury, who practices the RIE philosophy, that's R-I-E. And we've been practicing that since birth with both of our kids, and they're just totally awesome people. I'm constantly amazed by what a 2-year-old can do. Like, I didn't realize the level of compassion and empathy that such a little kid could have. And I think part of that is just being raised peacefully.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. So we were talking about this the other day, that you want to get your kids verbal as quickly as humanly possible. And that aspect of things, the quicker you can get them to be verbal, the quicker you can negotiate. And there's no better way to get them to be verbal than to start negotiating early, right?
Yeah, and also I remember when I was younger, like about the I forgot the word, sorry, that you said, but the stuff that little kids can do when it comes to like being verbal. I mean, I remember I always wanted to like say more stuff and do more stuff when I was younger, but I just didn't have the words for it, or I didn't really know how to like phrase the sentences. No, like right now my brain just
brain freeze. It happens.
But I mean, when I was younger, I just didn't know the words, or I didn't really know how to phrase a sentence, and I was like 2 to 4 or around that age. So I mean, yeah, I'm sure I just have some memories of that. So yeah, little kids can definitely do a lot more than you think they can.
And that frustration too, like if you're learning a foreign language, you have ideas in your head, but you don't know how to phrase them in the foreign language. And we're learning, the kid is learning a foreign language.
Yeah,
when
but
they're
it's used
born.
to is goo goo gaga.
Yeah, goo goo gaga, right? And so remember that the kid, one of the things that happens is the kid knows what they want to say. They just don't have the words. They don't have the language. So the more and the quicker you can teach them the language of negotiation, the better. And that's something we, started pretty early. We did have a question about bribery. Bribery, and we had a little bit of that.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. Do you remember?
But potty training.
Potty training. That's right.
They'd give me Skittles every time. Like they'd
That's
give me a
right.
Skittle every time I got it correct.
Yeah, give you a Skittle, right?
And now I love Skittles.
and potty trained. So
yes, I am potty trained and I love Skittles. It's a win-win.
No, and so I mean that's an interesting question, right? So a lot of parents think that bribery is really terrible. Like we all just got jobs in our teenagers for the altruism of contributing to the economy, and we weren't paid. Everybody gets bribed all the time, and bribery has got this negative connotation because of like politics and stuff like that, or democracy. But I don't see anything wrong with a positive incentive for a better behavior when the child can't figure out the consequences because they're too young, right? So I think that that's sort of my particular thought about it. Bribery or positive incentives for behavior is how adult life kind of works, right? You either get a positive incentive like you get a paycheck, or you're avoiding a negative incentive like not going to jail or whatever it is, right? So we have rewards and disincentives in life all the time. And so I don't view any particular issue with that. And the other one is the question of competition. Competition, tiny bit more of a dad thing than a mom thing.
I like competition.
Yeah. So if we're
like,
playing a game, what do I say?
What are we playing for?
What are we playing for? What are we playing for?
It will be like halfway through and you're like, wait, we never discussed what we're playing for.
Well, no, if I'm winning.
Of course.
If I'm losing, what do I say?
You'll say,
it's the game that's the fun part. We don't have to play for
right. I was thinking like of all the things you have said,
right?
Like what was the most common, and yeah, you know what, you're right. But I mean, it's often like you lower the stakes or something like that. You'll be like, oh, why don't we play to 15 instead of 11? Or you'll say
no, rock paper scissors. If I lose the first one, what do I say?
Play out of 3. Best out of 3.
Best 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course you keep going on until you get what you want.
Like with my mom, it will be like, what are we playing for? My mom's like, let's just play for the fun of the game. And it's like, no, we have to play for something. We can't just play for the fun of the game.
Right. So play, but that's life. You play for things, right? I mean, I'm playing for an audience. I'm playing for donations. I'm playing for, if you want to get a job, if you want to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, you're in competition with everyone else. So life is about playing for stuff. And so we certainly have that particular approach. But so what do you guys think about? And I'm happy to take. We've got people online who can ask questions and bring comments in as well. But what do you guys think about in terms of bribery? Is it there are 2 B words, bribery and bad, no bribery, or how does that work for you guys?
I could speak to that because I'm in the middle of potty training right now.
Do you need any skills? Because I think we can. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
It's been an adventure for the last 2 months. We don't do any sort of bribery. I was afraid that if I bribed her with anything, the day that she doesn't want a Skittle or an M&M is the day that I get pee all over my floor.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Izzy just fell off their chair because the day that she doesn't want a Skittle or an M&M, what day is that?
That doesn't happen to kids.
Is that a day?
They will take their least favorite dessert as long as it's sugar.
I can confirm from a very personal standpoint, Luna, that it will be at least 54. Because I'm 54. Do I like Skittles and M&Ms?
Yeah.
I certainly do, particularly the peanut ones. Okay, but so yeah, that probably is not about to happen, but go ahead.
That won't happen.
Well, I never wanted to engage in bribery as far as potty training goes because I'm afraid the day she doesn't want a star, like a gold star, people are big into stickers right now as opposed to sugar. So yeah, the day that she doesn't want sugar or gold stars, she's just gonna let loose all over the floor or her crib. So we don't do any bribery, but we do positive rewards and we do consequences. So she has to clean up her mess or help me clean up her mess if she makes a mess. And when she does get her pee or poop in the potty, we do lightning bolt high fives where you shoot lightning bolts out of your hand. It sounds like we dance around.
Could you just do that once more though, but with feeling? Because I felt that was very just like lazy. With all due respect, give me the full lightning high five.
So we shoot lightning bolts out of her hands. She gets to flush, which she's pretty excited about. She loves washing her hands. There's like no hand washing involved. It's just spraying her bathroom with water. Nice. So she gets all the benefits from doing what she's supposed to be doing, but they're benefits that make sense that go along with using the potty. You get to flush your waste by and you get to wash your hands and get everything soapy and wet.
All right, Tim, I've got a feeling that this juggling of bribery / rewards / payments / giving your kids a crypto wallet at the age of 2.5 months, is that something that goes on in your house?
Yeah, like I literally cannot ask Pascal to do anything without her saying, okay, let's make a deal. I'm not kidding. It's every single request.
That sounds familiar.
And then my one thing about that is I'm sorry. Can y'all hear me? Okay, I don't want.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay.
Just, keep the mic close up, and that's totally fine. Hey, we're here for the noise, so go for it.
Yeah. So just one thing I thought was kind of interesting about it was my wife like really doesn't like doing that. She says, "No, your daddy makes deals. Like I make rules." When I ask you to do something.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just need to mute Isabella because she may be revealing crucial family secrets here. Wait, so what you see? Sorry, just one sec. You seem to have quite a strong reaction to that. Is there anything that
That's exactly what
need to be aware of? What?
So you're always like for the rewards, and like if we go out, we'll always get a little bit of sugar or something. And my mom's like rules. That's it.
Oh, just rules,
it.
right? Yeah.
She does rules, and she like occasionally like we'll get sugar, but I mean it's not very often.
But when
we.
So I'm not sure why this is funny at all in any way, shape, or form. Go ahead.
Well, when you and I go out, it's just we'll always get a little bit of sugar, even if it's like a weekday. We're trying to do like no sugar. On
Monday to Friday, no sugar, and then no sugar Monday to Friday, and or not being with Dad alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my mom's a lot more strict about that rule. It's like, no, you get nothing.
Wait, a lot more strict? You mean I'm some level on strictness?
No, you're not.
No,
okay.
There's no. Like, Mom has standards, Dad has sugar. Okay. Well, obviously, I'm obviously concerned about whether you want to spend time with me without sugar bribery. That's clearly the issue.
No.
That's pretty funny. Okay, sorry, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's definitely like a goal of mine to like get her negotiating framework started in her head as early as possible, so that way that part of her brain grows like as much as I can have influence over it. So I really try to encourage negotiating, and then don't do it unless it's just something I really can't negotiate over, like I don't know, like running out into the street or something. Yeah.
And what are the consequences? Is it if you negotiate for something? How strict are you with the outcome?
Well, if she does her end of it, like I try really hard to do whatever it is, even if I just always do it. I think. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I mean, because it can be you make a deal and then the kid doesn't do whatever or doesn't achieve it, and then it can be like, oh well, that's fine, we'll give you half or whatever. But is it very much like Daddy's like the market, man? If you lose money on the stock, you lose money on the stock, that kind of thing, right?
Well, currently they're still kind of too young to like even though 5 years old is still too young to really do to have a lot of responsibility, like cleaning up, and like they could do a little bit of cleaning, but besides for that, there's not much she can really.
Or did you say 5
do.
or 54? I couldn't quite hear that.
I'd say 54.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. What do we negotiate over? Sometimes it's cleaning up, but usually it's other stuff. I'm not sure. I need to think about
no worries.
Yeah.
All right. If we wanted to move to Natalie, what's your relationship to this reinforcement stuff?
Yeah, I think I don't usually call it bribery, but I totally bribe especially my daughter who's 7. We're homeschooling, and between like the school stuff and I don't know, I call it school as shorthand for education and learning, our home learning. But we she'd rather play. Like she wants to make stuff and run outside with the chickens and her brothers, and so we do find ways that are like, okay, like this isn't what you would choose to do right now, but we do have to get some things done. She takes piano lessons. Okay, like if she has agreed, like she really wants to learn how to play the piano, she just doesn't really feel like practicing, like I'd rather play. Like, well, you don't have to learn how to play piano. That's
it's called playing piano,
but
kid. Sorry.
But if we're going to do lessons, then you need to commit to practicing. And so even though like there are things that she has to do that she's we try to find ways to like I try to make it like times of day that are good for her, that she's not fighting hunger or tiredness or fatigue, like or when, things are not super appealing with, play with her brothers or whatever. But once, we strip that away, like I totally use, you know, jelly beans as needed, like, okay, if you can, or gummy bears, there's some really good gummy bears out there, like so good that it's like, okay, I'll give you
Sounds
two
like a
gummy
dealer.
bears.
Hey
I love
kids,
gummy
I got
bears.
some great gummy bears
You-
for you in the windowless van. Come on in. There's a keyboard there too, but don't panic. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Oh, and if you get, there's something she was struggling with that kept like fidgeting with her, it's like, okay, if you can get through this whole song with your left foot on the floor, I'll give you I'll give you two gummy bears. And she, and not tipping the bench. She's like a little short to like sit on it really. And she totally did it, with the incentive, the extra reminder, without like, so I think incentives like that can help sometimes in place of like the nagging or like reminding, like, oh, do the, or we started in between her schoolwork. It's like, okay, we're going to start with a, chapter of your, some books with short chapters. Like we'll read together a chapter and then we'll do, our language arts, and then we'll read a chapter and then we'll do, math, and then we'll do a chapter and do piano. Like, so just like sandwiching those good things in between, those things that she really prizes and wants to do in between the things that are like, a little more of a drag, which I do as an adult. Those are things I do myself to like, okay, I'm going to, make myself my favorite cup of tea while I, do my taxes or whatever. Like, this is a drag, but here's this little thing that's gonna soften it.
We do that stuff all the time, right? I think that's.
I think incentives is probably a better word for it than bribery, because I mean, it's like.
Yeah, I think
it's like the same-ish thing, but it's not necessarily just bribery.
I mean, bribery does have that. So, but here's the thing too, right? So there's a hump, right? You're learning piano, it's kind of a drag, and you kind of give your kids the incentives to get over that drag aspect of things to the point where it's fun. Should we tell the story of you learning to read?
I don't actually remember that too well anymore.
Man.
I remember I hated it. I remember
She
I was
really
like,
did. She really did, but I
learning
knew.
things, it's like I do it myself or I don't do it at all.
Oh, let's not talk about the trauma of all of the twitchy teachers that have been in the wake of Isabella's strong will and self-direction. But hey, I mean, it wasn't like I learned a lot of great philosophy from other people either. I just had invented it myself. So that's all a self-starter thing. So we would put a computer on the TV and a keyboard, and we would just go over the word drills. And you really didn't like it. We didn't like it. But I knew, of course, the whole point is that you forget how difficult it is, and then you have the joy of reading, and you blaze through books pretty quickly, right?
3 or 4 then, right?
Yeah, about 3.5.
I think I was like close to 4.
Yeah.
I've just like, since it's that young, I didn't really remember it much, so it wasn't like it would really affect me later on in life when it comes to learning new, really hard things.
Yeah. No, I mean, we didn't do it to the point where there was massive conflict, but it would be like, yeah, let's learn some words. And of course, she'd see me reading a lot. And, when you've got that, before they become teenagers and they, want kind of the opposite of who you are sometimes, when they're looking up to you, what did you say this morning? The little kids look at their parents.
Oh, yeah. Little kids look at their parents basically like gods, because, like, that's basically the only I don't really know how to put it exactly, but yeah, that's kind of what I've seen from other kids, and also kind of what I remember myself.
Well, they're doing incomprehensible things. They're larger than life. And so there is that. So when they want to emulate that's when you want to try and get as much of that stuff in as possible, because later it's tougher, right?
You want to put up a gold role model for your kids. Man, I couldn't say that for some reason.
Yeah. Role model's a lot easier. I mean, like the phase where some of the parents with the younger kids are going through, where the kids are just blazing through language. You don't even know where they're getting it from. They're just new words all the time, and it's like, I didn't teach her that word or anything like that.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that. You remembered that about me.
Oh, yeah. It was like, what weird portal are all these words coming in from? Because, she was homeschooled and all that. So, yeah, that emulation phase, that's when you want to try and layer in a lot of really good behavior. And the briberies. Now, Jared, did you want to add anything to that? Because, again, I know you're talking about babysitting experiences, but I don't want to cut you out of that.
Yes, actually, and it was Luna's kids I was babysitting most half. Actually, her daughter, while her second was on the way. And during that, I don't recall. I didn't. I was adopting, however, their practices were. So I was listening to our resources for infant educare books, like on my way there, and just trying to do that, be consistent, whatever they've been doing as much as possible. Of course, I didn't do it up to I didn't do it as well as them, but it was good enough. Everybody survived and was happy. But as far as like bribing for myself, I think I would be a big advocate of it, like negotiation, making deals, finding rewards and incentives, win-win situations. Like that's definitely something I remember for myself growing up, and my parents would want something, and just thinking like, look, this is something you want. I could care less about this. What's in it for me? Um, so yeah, I personally think negotiations are great. Now, the hard part I would find is there are some non-negotiables, and that's something I don't look forward to. It's going from like that fun, here's Skittles and boom, 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 but no, this is off the table. Walking out into the street, so on and so forth. That's an easy one, but how to get that across in as happy a way as possible, or as positive of an experience as possible for the kids.
But see, those non-negotiables to me come down to a trust issue, right? So if your kids know that you care about them, you want the best for them, and you've kind of built up that credibility with good negotiation, then first of all, you want to try and avoid the situations where keep your kids away from the road and all of that stuff. But what you want to do is you want to say, you can't do this, and you can diagram the road, the toy cars, the plasticine person getting run over, like whatever it is, you can get it across in some manner. But I think if the kids trust you enough, then when you say no, even if you can't explain the whole thing, they'll be like, well, okay, well, he's right about 99% of the stuff. Seems to be the 1% that I can't quite follow. This is all life, right? I mean, those horrible relationships where we've read about some of these online where the guy's like, okay, so I broke into my wife's cell phone because I needed to see who she was getting messages from, and this kind of stuff, right? I mean, that's a nightmare, right? I mean,
if you don't trust your partner enough,
to
not do that, then I don't think you should really be together.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is not in the room. I'm going on the general assumption she's not setting fire to the place at the moment. That's my general assumption.
I don't know. I mean, Mom.
Yeah. So far, 100% of the time I've been right about that. I mean, obviously the 1% could be pretty bad, but that's just a general trust thing, right? So if I say no about something in general, we'll try and explain it. If it's kind of a rush, you'll be like, okay, and maybe we'll talk about it later. But or if you say you don't want to do something, I'll obviously try and encourage or whatever / incentive was the word you used, right? Yeah.
It's not bribery, it's incentives.
Not bribery, incentives. But you know your thoughts, and I never want to force anything through. Like that would be pretty terrible. So let's talk about, and it's kind of ironic because we're all looking at screens at the moment, but a big question, of course, that's come up, particularly in the endless pandemic hell, is screen time.
Well, Steph, before we go on, Jerry added something in the text. He said, we started negotiating very early and cannot do anything without making a deal.
Oh, yeah. No, he mentioned that. And that's good. I mean, you kind of want to set that up, right? You start negotiating early, you set that as a template. And, that's what you do with your husband and your wife. Where do you go on vacation? Back when you could go on vacation, you negotiate about that kind of stuff. You don't just sit there and say, hey, man, we're going to Antigua, or I'm locking you in the room until you think about what you've done or not done, which is go to Antigua, right? So you negotiate with these things. And, of course, if you have parents who are negotiating with each other, then the kid sees that too. And that's kind of how you resolve things. And that's for the best. All right. I think Tim has now moved to an undisclosed location. Looks pretty much like the inside of a sugar cube. Do I have that correct?
They let me out.
Oh.
Excellent. All right. Hopefully that's not the windowless van we mentioned earlier. All right. So yeah, let's talk about screen time. And again, we'll shuffle around. We'll go clockwise. Luna, if you wanted to start, I mean, because I've had that question a lot, and it's something we've worked with in our family as well. It's not the easiest challenge in the world. So how does that work with ours? It was TV, make your eyes go square, don't sit too close to the TV, and all that. But tablet's a whole different thing. So what's going on in your household, Lily?
We don't do any screens. Yeah, okay, I'm not muted. We didn't do any screens. It's kind of funny. My daughter thinks phones are just for selfies. And we have introduced her to a little bit of music, but we never have the screen facing her. And it's kind of funny because she thinks there's only like 4 artists in this world. There's Judy Garland, that she can listen to Somewhere Over the Rainbow 1,000 times a day. It's amazing.
Introducing your kids to music is a real double-edged sword because they have a level of repetition compulsion that would get you heavily medicated as an adult.
You better introduce them to something that has a lot of different parts of the song because you will.
Yeah.
Like Millionaire Waltz, right? That's a song you like because it's got some variety in it, right?
It will go, and also what's the other one?
Bohemian
Rhapsody.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
If you don't introduce them to something that has a lot of different, like I don't know, verses and notes and.
But the other plus is that your kids will in turn introduce you. I mean, Izzy's introduced me to a bunch of new music.
Yeah.
Favorite artists at the moment? Go.
Oh my gosh. Well, I like Queen a lot.
Yeah.
I know it's like something you introduced me to.
Goat singer.
Sabrina, what?
Goat singer.
Oh yeah, Fawizia.
Fauzia.
How you say
No,
it.
she's very good.
Okay, she's actually very good, but
She's
she has
very
a bit
good.
of that goat trill.
She's got a little, tiny greatest of all time, I would say, GOAT.
Yeah. Okay. Sabrina Carpenter. I've heard some of her songs. We like some of the not dark side of Billie Eilish.
True. And what about who does the thumbs? Oh, that's Sabrina Carpenter, right?
That's Sabrina Carpenter.
Sorry, we'll get back to you in a sec. We're just having a musical interlude here, so I promise we'll be right back. When did you fall out of love? Who was that singer? Do you remember?
That's Alicia Cara.
Alicia Cara and Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa.
Dua Lipa.
No, it's Dua Lipa.
Lipa Laula, I think that's her name.
Oh
So
my gosh.
there's that as well. So yeah, that does go both ways. So sorry.
Definitely Lipa Dua. Or whatever.
Sorry to completely hijack you, but you didn't give us a skittle. So clearly we're just going to interrupt. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
The other artists my daughter knows are Celine Dion, and she knows her because we were learning the concept of near and far. So of course I had to play My Heart Will Go On. And then we are also learning the concepts of being alone and together. So Celine Dion does a cover of All By Myself. So my daughter will hum it. It's so funny.
No. And she does that anymore. And she does this like screechy, banshee, desperation wail that absolutely every single time I hear it, it gives me goosebumps. But anyway, go on.
She knows Elvis. Oh, the other thing about Celine Dion. So Celine Dion is the lady. So we'll be singing like Christoph, my husband, and I will be singing, the Wheels on the Bus Go Round and Round, just kid songs. And my daughter's like, no, the lady, have the lady sing it. So she thinks that Celine has probably done covers of these children's songs.
Listen, nothing is going to give, and I think this is fair to say for Izzy too, nothing is going to give your kids a sense of your own personal limitations than attempting to sing along with real singers. What do you think, Bill?
Yeah.
Wait, are you okay? Do you need a moment?
No.
And then the other two are Elvis and Patsy Cline.
Oh, Patsy
And
Cline.
so she requests these artists. So most of them, I can listen to this music all day long. And that's the other thing with screen time. Like kids crave it. They're hypnotized by it. It's so interesting to them. So if you are going to introduce something, you better be prepared to listen to it for the next 2 months.
Pretty solid. All right.
Right now I have the taste of music. I could listen to it for like a week and then I'm like, you know what? I've heard this too many times, even if it's like occasionally, and then I have to move on to a new song.
Kids outgrow repetition for sure. But yeah, at the early point.
Don't worry, you'll be okay.
At the early point, you better get used to Hear and Let It Go until you want to let go of the bridge. All right. Jared, is there anything you wanted to jump in with that? Asking a crypto guy about screen time is like asking Hunter Biden about illicit substances, but okay, go on.
So that's largely something I guess I would study coming up to be a prospective parent. Where I'm at right now, I would say it seems like the downside, the argument against it would be, okay, we don't like adults are addicted enough to screens and what's going on with tablets and apps and games and stuff. And like these folks that make these things are really great at tapping into those dopamine centers and making you want to come back. And boy, is that the best thing for your kid, or do they need to be, playing with blocks or something else to be a lot more educational? So, but at the same time, there's opportunities there with the technology if done right. So I'm kind of conflicted both ways about it. And I'm not resolved. I don't know where I would go with that as far as screen time, because I can see both sides, the good and the bad.
So screen time doesn't have to be, sorry, Tim, just before I forget the thought, screen time doesn't have to be an isolating thing, right? So screen time isn't just, I don't like the sort of go with the screen because I'm busy as a parent. That's usually not a very good solution. It's easy, right? But, games we play together.
We used to play the little game Golf Battle.
We used to play
It's
golf
actually
battle.
really fun. Even if you just play it yourself, you can get paired with random online people, and it's like a little mini game. You get to open chests, unlock new clubs, stuff like that.
So we played a game of golf battle socially. We played a couple of games on the...
We play Rocket League.
Played Rocket League, very
Among
social.
Us. I have an Among Us server if you're ever interested in that and have enough time.
So
aside
we
from the
have
kids.
we played this very social. We've played so if we play 2-player games together.
Yes, we play Pixel Junk Shooters or something like
Oh,
that.
Pixel Junk Shooter, I think it was
that.
called. That was a fun
Yeah, I think
game.
that's what it was called. We used to play that. Lovers in a Dangerous Space Time. There was like
Lovers
no
in a
love in it
Dangerous Space
whatsoever.
Time?
It's basically like you're on this spaceship and you have to like fly through these narrow tunnels, and there are these little robots that try and shoot your ship.
Yeah, because we don't look at, so like if you sit down with your kids and you play cards or Monopoly, we used to play a lot of Monopoly or this other board
we used to
games.
have those epic games that lasted like 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, we would just like
we take up the entire ottoman.
Mom would be like, "Can we tidy the Monopoly game?" No,
Don't
it is
yes!
the fate of the universe hangs on who gets ill and annoyed. Do you remember that?
Oh, Illinois! I called it Illinois.
Yeah.
And now it's even run by Democrats. So it's the same
it is
thing.
run by Democrats, so they are ill and annoyed. So I mean, if you're playing a game with your kids, whether it's a board game or it's a tablet game or a computer, if you're doing it socially, you're negotiating, you go do this and problem solving and so on, then that I think is fine. Just go do something on the tablet because I'm busy doesn't seem to be a good idea. The other thing I wanted to mention before we get to the final two people, and thanks for your patience, we were talking about this at breakfast today. We talk about kids and tablets. Man, parents and tablets. Oh,
That's the issue.
that's brutal. Okay, we would go to a play center.
Yeah, I'd be like 6 or 7 at the time. We'd go to this play center. It was a really great play center, by the way. I hope it stays open during COVID. I don't think it will. But anyways, we'd see these 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds just going into the play center, and their parents just sitting on these benches eating some snacks on their phones, just scrolling through their messages. We'd occasionally see a dad go in with his kid, but that's about it. It's like...
Yeah, for the most part, when we would go out, we would see parents ignoring their children for the sake of screen time.
And all the kids would just latch onto us.
Oh.
You were always so nice, and I was like, no, go away!
I can't say no! I can't say no!
It was so...
No, tell what would the general process be of us going to a play center?
So we go to the play center, we'd see 20 parents sitting on their phones. Then we'd actually go into the main play center area after getting checked in and stuff, whatever, right? And we play, and 5 minutes later, kids would just come up to us and be like, "Hey, what are you playing?" And my dad would be like, "Oh, we're playing." And I remember this one time you were about to say it, and I'm like, "You know what? My dad and I would like to come to the playground just to play with us, so you can go away." I said something like that. It wasn't exactly that, but it was
in the future, I said when the kids would want to play. Now, of course, I'd be like, "But you're like me when I was a little kid. I can't say no." Right?
It convince your parents.
Maybe you don't have a dad at all. Anyway, so I would be, but then what I would say if a kid would come up, I'd just say, "I'm sorry, you're going to need to speak to my representative over here."
Oh, you'd actually say
no, but that would be my sort of mental thought. I'm like, let me hold up my human shield called my child, who will now say no to you on my behalf because I apparently have the spine of a jellyfish.
Well, I took away your spine, and I put it through the vents, and I sent it to Jupiter.
That's
because
right.
I didn't like when he said no.
So when I would say no, Izzy would actually reach into my back. Should we give them a tiny demonstration?
I just take it, and then I put it in the vents.
The vents?
And then the vents would send it over to Jupiter.
Yeah, so Jupiter, my spine is currently orbiting Jupiter in some philosophical experiment.
Yes,
and that's...
you can't say no.
Now, that's funny because when I would not say no to you, removing my spine was a good thing, but when I wouldn't say no to other kids, what happened? Bad.
Yeah,
Bad.
you can't say no to me, but you can't say no to others.
Not
that's
so much
how
fun when the spine's gone now, is it?
I only took out the part of the spine that said no to me.
Right. But no, so we would see this all the time. We would see, we would go out for a restaurant meal. We would see the parents on tablets and the kids on screens. So it's a little different. I mean, I had to be on, I kind of run this whole thing off a tablet or a phone or a computer sometimes. So I had to sort of be on screen time. But I certainly tried to pull back and all of that. But to me, it's kind of under discussed just how much parents have parents have issues with screen time. Because we see this all the time. We actually comment on it. We'd see entire tables of people, parents on their phones, kids on their phones, or parents lobbing tablets or phones to their kids so that the parents could have some kind of conversation, and that's not particularly fair, because it's important for kids. I know you don't always like it when Mom and I are talking finances and stuff like that, right? But I think it's important to be exposed to that kind of stuff. Obviously not when they're super young, but anyway. So I just wanted to mention that I think that parents got to watch out and model less tablet usage, less screen time, and so on.
One thing before we get on
go ahead.
Jerry asked if he could hop onto audio.
Huh?
Jerry asked if he could hop onto audio right there.
Oh, aren't you showing off your younger eyeballs? All right. Can I jump on audio?
And also, Roma Beast also pointed out maybe Steph's spine will jump into the teapot orbiting Jupiter.
So this is an old thing. I
I've
think it
heard
comes from
this.
Bertrand Russell about it's a teapot orbiting.
Yeah, I've heard this.
Yeah.
I just thought that was funny.
That's right. All right. Can I jump on audio? Okay. I don't know where you are. Oh, there we go.
I've been muted. I'm here.
Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah. So we have, and sorry, I've been here the whole time just listening. We've got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. And the couple times that we do screen time is we have a special movie night on Friday nights where we all watch a family movie. But the other time that we really started doing screen time, because, we were kind of in the same boat as Luna where we wouldn't do any, was when our second was born. And, we've got a young boy who needs something to kind of entertain himself with. And we've got a second baby who, needs all of our time. So, we still try to limit it. But we do, maybe a show or two, a very kid-friendly that we've pre-screened show probably most days now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And if I don't count it particularly as screen time if you're sitting watching something, like if you watch a movie together, and then Izzy and I have done movie reviews. Like if you talk about it, here's what it means, here's my thoughts about it, what do you think about it? Then it's a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine. I think also, reading books together can be a lot of fun as well.
We read Animal Farm together.
We'd read Animal Farm together. We also did Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, that thing had so much description in it, and it was insane.
I'm afraid we had to start skipping
paragraphs.
That. How many times can you describe the way that sunlight falls on a leaf? Apparently the answer is
How
infinite.
many times
Infinite.
does you have to describe a guy brushing through his hair with his hand?
Yeah.
Like, they spent an entire paragraph on this.
That, of course,
please get to the story.
That's a particularly painful description for me, of course. Look at me running my hands through my... Okay. Tim, how does it work for you?
Yeah, like Luna, when you said that you don't have any, I that's amazing to me. I put maximum effort into limiting their screen time and their sugar, and then they still get a ton of it. So
it's your wife. That's what you're saying. Right? You're the strong one.
I just can't say no.
I can totally affirm you there, brother. It's exactly the same for me.
Yeah, blame the wife.
That's a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, so they get a lot, but I tried to not. I don't know. I try to limit it, but even then, they still get a lot of it. So, it's just if you don't, you're not going to get any. In my house, you're not going to get any conversation with your wife or with friends, or even and maybe it's just at the age that they're at. At that 5 and under, it's they really can't just sit in a chair, and then you just put a screen in front of them, and they just sort of and then you can actually eat and have a conversation. And so it's just, you have to do that in my house if you have a meal and talk at all.
Do you have a sense, or do you track hours per week? Because that's always a big question for this stuff.
Yeah, on the no, not really.
Are you afraid to? I know I'm afraid to with my own phone. It's I don't want to see those numbers.
Like you say, if
no,
you
thanks.
turn on screen tracker for your tablet, And I'm like, only if you do it on your phone.
Yeah, so it's inverse alcohol, so it's good for kids, but it's terrible for adults to do that kind of stuff.
Of course,
just the
yeah.
way, you understand how this. We'll go
Yeah,
over
I
inverse
understand for
alcohol
sure.
another time. All right. Okay, good. So, and Natalie, how does it work for you guys? Oh, you're a granola homeschool man, so they're lucky to get an Etch-a-Sketch, right? Is that the way it goes?
No. I have to say also that when my daughter was little, like before my son was born, she had almost no screen time. Like that was not a thing, my husband and I will watch a show, but like after she goes to bed. But like that's like when she was the only kid, it was like no screens, basically no screen. She didn't play on a tablet or a phone or I think temperament also comes into play there. She is pretty like happy to kind of entertain herself, and like the way she entertains herself tend to be not terribly destructive.
I think the key word there is she, but go ahead.
Yeah. That's and then even like when my second one was born, when my first son, I still like I could put him down for naps. Like I could tell my then like 3.5-year-old daughter, I could say, okay, I'm gonna put your brother down for a nap. I need you to look at books. I'll be out in a few minutes. Please don't knock on the door unless it's an emergency. Like I could tell her, like, just give me a little time and I'll come out. And that worked for her almost all the time. But then when my third came along, and so my older son he wasn't 3.5, he was a little closer to 3, a little under 3. And his impulse control, in addition to being slightly younger, his impulse control and also his volume in general, and like all these things are quite different from my daughter. He's like,
I keep hearing about this impulse control thing. Maybe you can explain it to me after the show, because feels offensive to me in some mysterious manner. Something you wanted to add there?
No.
Sorry, go ahead.
But so I could tell him, I'm gonna put your brother down for a nap and I'll be out in a few minutes, and like he would just like burst in, or like, and it's like, well, I told you I need some time to put your brother down. Well, I just had something to tell you. Like, I know, I just need to tell you that. Oh.
I can say that from my understanding of other kids, that's a lot more of a boy thing than a girl thing. Like I was a bit more like if you're more than 3 or 4 minutes, I will come in, but I'd wait for the first little bit. But yeah, I think from what I can understand, although I feel the experts would be the guys actually here, or the other people who have boys. But I don't know. I'd say yeah, boys are definitely more like that.
That seems like, I don't know. I have my sample size is small at this point, but in my home experiment so far, like the boys, there's definitely differences between the genders. Let me tell you, and it starts from like birth. Like I mean, it really is. It's pretty different. The toys that's a tangent. The toys my sons choose to play with versus what my daughter chooses to play with, even though like trucks were available to her and stuff. Like, no, they're obsessed with things with wheels, and she was not. But anyway, so we use now.
Sorry, could I just ask you to hold up one of those wheel toys? I think the boys in the call would really, really appreciate that. If you have those around, that would be fantastic. Sorry, just go ahead. Just kidding, go ahead.
So between like needing to protect some quiet while I get my youngest down for a nap, and then also just like knowing that watching a show is a possibility, my older two would ask all the time, can I watch a show? Can I watch a show? Can I watch it? And it's like, well, there's other things to do.
No, you could also say, I'm not sure if it's produced a show today, because I assume that's all they
I
all
assume
there.
that's all they want to watch.
Yeah, of course. But sorry, go
I
ahead.
mean, I never did, but you tell me about it.
I am a show. Sorry,
You
go ahead.
tell me all about his shows.
So what we I have eventually, for now, my kids will watch, at least the older two, watch 1 or 2 episodes of something every day. And it's like, it's not, for a while it was like, well, if you do this, then you can watch a show. And I was using it like an incentive or a reward, but it was really hard to like, well, if I really needed to put my youngest down, or like I needed some, his naps will last a certain amount of time. The first half of his nap, like he can deal, like once he's asleep, he can deal with some noise, but in like towards the end, he'll wake up with not very much noise. So it's like, oh, if I can't find, so we've got to
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Are you saying that it's tough to get a kid to nap if he hears sounds of immense enjoyment from the next room? Because as a younger sibling, I could tell you I was always on the lookout for people having fun when I wasn't around. And then it's just like, I will never, ever nap again.
Yeah, no, that seems to be. So anyway, we use this, now it's just like, yes, you can watch a show at 2:00 while your brother is napping. And, like we've got pretty like, strong limits around those. It's like, it's this from here to here, and then it's over. And, so they get to practice like that, like like dealing with that feeling of like, no, I just want to watch one more episode. And like, yeah, well, we can watch another day. And it's really hard to stop. I totally understand. Like, yeah.
I absolutely love watching parents imitate their kids. Like your entire face changed. I will eat you alive, Mom, if you don't give me what the intensity, right? What's even more instructive is watching children imitate their parents. Also quite instructive. No, I'm really not. In fact, that's probably better for the entire show if you don't. But
okay.
But no, I that intensity of like, because as parents we got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Kids, they're like lasers, like one thing, and they will bore through. Anyway, okay. So, Luna, did you want to mention something about this as well? Sorry, Natalie, if you were done.
I think
Yeah. Okay, Luna, you wanted to jump in with something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how we don't do screen time. And I agree with Natalie. Part of it is temperament. My daughter is amazingly compliant. Like if she's being loud while our son is trying to nap, we basically see like, oh, can we do this as quietly as possible? We start whispering to each other like, psst, 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 and she thinks it's so funny.
Sorry, just a moment. Just Tim's starting to cry. I can see it. But we'll get back to Kid's temperament. Tim's temperament in a moment. Go ahead.
Or, sometimes if my son is napping, we'll go on a walk around the block. Like my son's fine by himself for, 45 minutes that it takes to walk around the block with my daughter. The other thing we started from birth was having a gated off play space. So I can just leave my daughter in the play space. The way I set it up, it's super fun. Tons of books, tons of toys, trampoline, chalkboard, coloring books, everything that could be fun is in there. And if I have to change my son's diaper, put him down for a nap, she stays in the gated play space. But I don't know how that'd work with a 5-year-old who can probably just climb over a baby gate.
Actually, they just chew their way out at that age. But yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, that's how we've set things up, where from birth, they've had a gated off play space, so they don't know any differently. They don't know that other kids get free range of the house. And yes, they don't really want to escape. Since they haven't been exposed to the screens yet, they don't know what they're missing. And if they do see me on a screen, it's really boring. I'm ordering groceries. I'm pulling up a song. I'm texting my husband. Like, there's nothing fun happening on the screen.
Jerry, did you want to mention something? I'm trying to get the tone of your message here, but it's something like this. Yeah, that worked for about a minute with our son, or something like that. I think that's sort of the tone that went on. Amazingly compliant. Amazingly compliant. That was actually our first middle names for Izzy, but we actually weren't allowed to legally do that. Jerry, did you want to mention something about?
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thing, wasn't it illegal to like name your kid Nutella in some place?
Yeah, I think
Just
they did
thinking
have
of
some.
like funny names. I don't know why.
Yeah. Jerry, are you on? You're gonna need to unmute. If
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah,
I switched my headset. Okay. A couple things there. So yeah, the let's just be quiet. That worked for about a minute. We're a little bit worried that our oldest is going to be an evil genius. He is fantastic at monologuing. Or he'll be Steph, you know.
Hey, what's wrong with being good at monologuing? Why does that make you an evil genius? Okay, I have a long speech to make about that. Monologuing.
Yeah, exactly.
One person talking, and they don't let. It's called filibustering. You just one person talks, you just simply don't let. You know, in Among Us.
In Among Us.
Okay, so just so if there are other people, younger people listening, explain how it works if you're the imposter and you want to.
You just want to, I guess, monologue or filibuster the entire time, so no one else can get any information about what happened.
Yeah, that's right, Jared. Anyway, so so
Jared does like to filibuster.
So yeah, but I'd like to hear more about the evil genius thing because this may be evidence in court at one point. Go ahead.
Well, and he's brilliant. It's fantastic, and obviously he's incredibly smart. But you know, and this kind of goes back to the negotiating thing, where you know it's hard to negotiate when it's a very one-sided negotiation. But as for the what Luna was talking about with you know, kind of keeping them in a certain area, that worked as well for a little bit. But our 2-year-old, he's our climber. So even though he's teeny tiny, he always climbed way more than his older brother and still does. So, you know, it just seems it's different personalities. And
it's very tough when they're actually born in a Spider-Man suit, like they come out that way. Because then you just know you're going to have child-proofing is going to be a challenge, right?
Yeah, we know these kids. We know some kids. They have 3 kids, and what's it called? One of them, like their youngest, just climbs everything. Like, we were at a playground together, and the swings. There's some really tall swings, right? And they had these metal poles going up to like support it on the sides.
Yeah.
He just went right up.
Oh yeah, you want to know where that kid is? Just look up. That's all you need to do.
Up,
just
no
matter where you are.
He'll be hanging from your fan. He'll be like,
absolutely.
he'll be anywhere.
It's a circus show called Mummy Screaming. All right. Okay, good. So let me ask you this. So here's a comment that came out of a listener. So he's saying he's sort of having a big problem with the relationship he has, and I guess this is another question. And I'm happy to take more questions from the watchers. And it is. So my friend had kids after I did, and our sons are 6 months apart. My son is way more verbal and super polite and loving and trusting, whereas hers is almost nonverbal and hits and fights with everyone. And she threatens violence. This is his friend, right? I really don't want my kids around it, and I'm definitely going to cut her out after hearing the latest podcast, blah, blah, blah. I don't want my kids around it. I've told her that the difference in parenting makes a difference, and she just thinks her kids, both are nonverbal, 4 and 2, are slow learners. But both her and her husband work and are constantly threatening their kids. So when it comes to who your kids are around, you know, because this, you know, again, on average, 3/4 of parents admit to hitting their kids, which is a really tragic number. And, you know, that's just the ones who admit. Now, in terms of being absent, being unattached, being screen addicted for the parents, or yelling, raising voice, threatening, intimidating, calling names, all this kind of stuff. What is the social situation with regards to your kids and kids around who may not be parented in a peaceful manner or maybe a challenge? And it's tough, right? Because your kid's going to grow up, they have to go out and deal with the world, and there will be, of course, the world is full of traumatized people. The world is full of traumatized people. And do you learn how to deal with them? Do you just try and create a society or a situation where you don't have to deal with them as much? How is that playing out? And I guess we can start with Tim and then go counterclockwise, and we can end up with Jared. But again,
before you start, Tim, I wanted to add one thing. So when it comes to hitting kids, it's in society, it's like, yeah, it's fine, right? But I mean, if you go up to, like, say, I know Bob walks up to Tom, right? And Bob just slaps Tom out of the blue. he could get fined, he might get arrested if it's like a punch or something.
Yeah.
But when it comes to kids, in a few places, it's actually like, yeah, go hit your kids. It's good for them.
Most places.
And most places. And it's just, if an adult hits an adult, they get like fined or put in jail for a bit or whatever. But if an adult hits a kid, it's like, good for you.
Well, and if Bob goes up to Tom and hits him, Tom can dodge. Tom can hit back. Tom can call the police.
Tom can just run away.
Could run away. That's my preferred
And the
strategy.
kids are just like stuck there. Like,
Yeah, kids are trapped, right? I mean, this is what we talked about the other day with regards to the pandemic. I mean, my gosh, kids with bad parents, they're all stuck at home together.
Can't even get out to school.
They can't even get out to the relative safety of school, and that's a whole thing which we're not really talking about. That's why kids' self-destructive behaviors are going through the roof at the moment, because I think a lot of them are stuck home with. Yeah, and it's a terrible. It's the worst double standard around. But this is a state of society where kids don't vote, right?
Yeah.
And so nobody
You should
really.
have kids voting.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. We shouldn't. It's a whole other thing. So, but yeah, how do you guys deal with kids who are raised in the traditional, non-peaceful, let's put it as nicely as possible, non-peaceful way? Have you navigated that, or how does that play out? Tim, do you want to give it a shot?
Yeah, like with my kids were going to daycare, and then because of COVID, our circumstances changed to where we could have them at home, and that had a big effect. My 2-year-old at the time, I don't know, like she just began this thing where she would bite and pinch all the time, and she still does it. Like it's she doesn't bite as much anymore, but if she's just next to you, she's going to just try to start pinching you. And I think that
now play pinch or like leave a welt pinch.
It's like, I don't know. It's a great. So I don't know. It's pretty hard. Yeah. It's more than play pinch, I would say. But I don't know if she's intentionally trying to be mean. Like, it's just something that she does. And I think she picked that up at daycare. Like, she's with these kids, and a little kid's trying to take her toy, and she doesn't know what to do about it. And then this might have worked 1 or 2 times. And then it's like wired in her head at such a young age that, I used to get really mad about it. And then I realized that I'm kind of the one who caused her to start doing that, because I put her in that environment where she learned that. So then I, started not getting mad about it. And I used to be like, I try to do universal preferable behavior. I'm like, oh, you pinch me, I'm going to pinch you. But that doesn't work. She doesn't process why.
So that's not quite UPB. just
I know, yeah.
Whack, because she's a kid and you put her in the environment. So
yeah.
that may be self-defense as an adult, but not as a parent. But anyway, go on.
But that totally doesn't work. She doesn't see that connection at all. So she just go, oh, you pinch me, but she, because you pinch me. And she goes, no, you pinch me. So I just have to, so doing that doesn't work. The only thing you can say is, I don't like that. And you just say that over each time. And then.
Have you asked her where she got it from? Because most likely she was pinched by an older kid in daycare.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But she's still her verbal skills is still not really there to have a conversation like that, I think, at this point.
I could try. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you know your kid better than we do, of course, but I think you should still give it a try. I mean, just in case, maybe they can draw it a little bit if they can't quite exactly say it. Or, I don't know, maybe I'd say give it a try if you can.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, it might have been too long ago, too, because I think she was in there from that, because that was 1.5 years ago, so she was only 1.5 at the time.
Oh, okay, so pretty tough to remember, right? But your other kids don't. The kids who had less exposure to daycare don't do that, is that right?
Yeah. So my thank God, my youngest, who's 1, she's never been in daycare, and then my 5-year-old, she never really took to doing that. So they're all pretty nonviolent and get along well.
Excellent. All right, Natalie, normie kids, go.
My kids they don't get to see normie kids very much, and it's not like.
Do they watch documentaries? No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Go on.
No, I mean just the way our life is. we interact with kind of a small number of families, and the ones that we do basically all have pretty similar approaches to parenting. There's some parents that I met when my daughter was young. In my state, they have it's offered through the like the public school, early childhood family education, which are classes where like parents can come, parents come with their child, and you have a couple of hours that you're together and you're doing some like just observation, some playing together, and then some parent education time. And my experience with those classes has actually been really positive. They they're current with research about parenting and child development and relationships, so you get all the, it's respectful parenting and acknowledging feelings and curiosity about what's going on, and you put together with the child development piece of like, well, what's the motor that's driving them, like the like a kid, is not being defiant, they're doing their job. Well, their job is to test and your job is to respond and set limits, like a lot of helping to understand like what's happening in your child's brain that contribute to some of the things that are challenging. And also you have a chance with other parents who are learning these things too. You have a chance to have your kids can practice, they interact, and like the teachers can help model how would you intervene in a conflict between two kids who want the same thing. Like, how do you talk to them? How do you help them work through that? Do you just give it like, oh, like that you have to take turn, like the traditionally it's like, well, you have to take turns, you have to share. It's like, well, that's not necessarily developmentally appropriate for a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old. If you can't trust that, you can play with this thing that you have, like at any moment an adult might come in and say, you have to give it to this other kid. It's like, what? I don't understand. And like, I'm suspicious that, anyway. So I was really fortunate to have a pool of parents who were going through kind of the same kind of education process. And so I had this other pool of moms that had a similar approach, and we've done that with a couple of our kids, but we're not attending those classes right now. But that's been nice. So we've got some friends from that pool where we kind of have the same, and then some of my friends from other parts of my life have adopted similar parenting approaches. And I think part of it is because some of the things that I have learned and shared with them, not to like toot my own horn, but like my friend whose kids are older than my kids that I was taking care of when I first it was introduced to Steph's work, she was struggling with her 5-year-old being defiant and whatever, and she was kept punishing and like not spanking, but just like taking away privileges, consequences, taking away the stuff that he wanted to do, and it kept getting. She's like, I don't know, I can't do more. And I was like, well, why, and I like, why would you use the thing that, your intimacy with him, why would you use that against him, that, she stopped doing those things and he stopped being defiant. Like, it was kind of amazing. But anyway, I have a friend who did at one time, spank her son when he was young, and I kind of made an argument about like what that it maybe you get short-term compliance but long-term more behavior, like the science is there, and also the relationship and all of those things. So she stopped they she's had you know, 2 more boys after that, and nobody is spanked in our house anymore. And, you know, like that's
It's yeah, I can never for the life. I mean, the idea that you and I would, you know, like we wake up and we have breakfast and then you'd be like, I hope Dad doesn't get mad. I hope Dad's not in the bed. Like that would be just so awful, especially when we all, you know, if you're homeschooled and, you know, we're sort of a 24/7 situation here. I mean, just to make your kids afraid of you and think that's the plan for the next 18 years is just to rule by fear.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just like,
Ugh.
well, basically until the teenage years, because what's the teenage years? It's like parents.
Well, then you're going to get, right, you're going to get the fight back, right?
Yeah.
And then, as I've said before, we were talking about this the other day here at home, you know, most of parenting when they're young is just getting ready for the teen storms, getting ready for the emotional roller coaster of the teen years and the skepticism of the parents and the eye rolling and sighing, which is...
Eye rolling started at 9.
Wait, what? This is happening?
What?
Yeah, no. Just you can lean into the mic here. Just if you want, if you could give people the sigh that happens when the dad jokes used to be kind of enjoyable. They went through a little bit.
I still like them.
No, but give me the sigh. You can do it right into the mic. So imagine bad dad joke. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that is the sound of the soul leaving the body.
I think Jared heard it.
Yeah, that is the sound of the soul leaving. Yeah, just something like that.
Someone help me.
I've heard that once or twice while playing Among Us.
Yes, there is
You
that.
have heard that a few times. I think everyone has.
There is that sigh. Also the rage quit. But anyway.
What?
The rage quit.
Oh, from you?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't say it directly.
Yeah, okay.
You just inferred it because of reason and evidence. But no, just this idea that you know, that this is what I'm going to do is I'm going to intimidate a little kid. You know, that's my strategy for life is I'm going to, you know, go out and, you know, if my boss asks me to do something, I'll be okay. You know, if the waiter brings me my food and my food is cold, I'll be okay. But when I get home, man, I'm sure I'm going to bully that little kid. And it's just like, ugh, it's just so weird. And how sad it would be to, you know, like when, you know, I want you to have some measure of happiness when we walk into a room together, not like, uh-oh, he's going to make a joke. No, wait.
I mean, that's what happens.
He's going to try and show me some dance moves. But dad jokes for life, no compromise, says someone. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Dad jokes for life.
Absolutely. But no, just the rule by fear thing, I think would just be, you know, why on earth would you want to bring someone into this life and then just have them fear you?
Yeah,
you know?
it just... yeah.
So sad.
Like, why have kids if you're just gonna like traumatize them?
Oh yeah, no, don't understand that at all. It's beyond my comprehension. I mean, I've had the experience on the other side, but doing it on this side. So, sorry, Luna, we were going to talk. How do you manage the impulse to become a helicopter parent?
Good question.
You really sounded like you were going to say something.
I was gonna say something and then I wasn't because I kind of like I thought I had something cool to say and then I was like, wait, no, I don't.
Oh, it happens to me all the time. Trust me. Just keep talking.
Just talk.
5,000 shows. Okay.
Honestly, I mean, I'd say about that, I don't really know because I'm not the parent too well, but just let your kids do things. They'll learn from experience. When it's like the parents are trying to prevent everything the kid does, it won't work because your kids will still want to try and experiment and stuff. They have to learn from, like, if they try and jump off, I don't know, like try and climb a rock, like you know, where sometimes you'll see those signs, don't climb the rock. Say they end up climbing the rock and they fall down the rock. Yes, they'll hurt themselves. Like, also kids are much younger and they heal very fast. I know that myself.
Yep.
But honestly, I mean, just let them learn from experience. Next time they'll be a lot more wary about like climbing things that they probably shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be a certain amount of learning by experience. And again, that's a bit of a dad thing versus a mom thing. The mom thing is all about preventing harm, and the dad thing is walk it off. And,
yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you have to have a balance, right? So when you were learning to ride a bike, we didn't just put you at the top of a big hill and say good luck, right?
Have fun.
Yeah, but at the same time, if you fell a couple of times like all kids do on their bikes. And
I remember I was so excited. I got 14 pedals and I felt that I really hurt myself. I was so excited because I'm like, I turned, what is it called? I pedaled my feet 14 times and I made it a certain distance.
Yep, that's very cool.
No, not 14 times, 14 seconds. I did 14
seconds, that's right.
I was so excited.
And then, you're going to fall. And the whole point of falling, though, is to recognize and realize that you can have a failure, you can have a setback, you can be in pain, and you just get up and you try it again. Sorry, just before we get to you, Luna, somebody said here, discipline, right? The question of discipline. So you cannot teach discipline to your children by hitting them because you're out of control of your temper. In other words, you lack self-discipline. So you can't get your kids to be disciplined if you lack the discipline to reason with your kids. Because if you are modeling losing control and then asking your kids to have discipline, that's a complete contradiction. They can never hear what you're saying over what you're doing. So, sorry, Luna, you were, sorry, I rudely asked you to speak and then interrupted. So go for it. I mean, in terms of like kids who may not be quite as evolved as your parenting.
Oh, okay. So wait, am I responding to?
Yeah, sorry, the question was a while ago. I
parenting,
apologize for that. But we were talking just about how if there are kids around a similar age and maybe the parents are somewhat similar in terms of parenting styles, but there's issues in the parenting or issues in the family to the point where it may not be great for your kids in the long run. How do you deal with that, or have you had to?
Well, my kids are young. My oldest just turned 2. We were part of a mom's group until I got exiled for my political beliefs. So, but
I want to hear that story if that's, and I also want you to name names. Give me a website. And I'm just kidding. No, what happened?
Wikipedia.
Well, yeah, we were part of this mom's group, and then they just thought that I was very judgmental, which I was confused by. And I just realized, like, I'm the only one, like, I wanted to know what people's kids were up to. Like, we all had kids around the same age. Like, oh, what are his skills now? Like, did he learn some new words? What are your kids up to? What does he like to eat? And then I realized, like, hey, I'm the only one asking questions about these people's children. And it seemed like the mom's group was mostly like, let's ignore our kids and just talk about our own lives, which, yeah. So anyway, we got exiled from that group.
Did you bring it up that the parents seem to be somewhat self-absorbed and there's not much parenting going on?
No. I just got a text that I've been like uninvited.
Oof. Now, it's funny because they say, oh, Luna, you're just so judgmental. So we're going to judge you and expel you.
Exactly.
Because you see, being judgmental is just so terrible.
Awful.
Well, I texted back. I was like, wow, I'm really curious to hear about that. Can you tell me more? And then I never got a text back. So anyway.
You just had to scream racism. All you had to do was scream racism. Come on, man. Don't you know how to work this system yet?
Yeah. But at the time when we were hanging out, there was a lot going on that I wasn't comfortable with. There's one baby who, babies can't help it. They spit up. That's just part of their like gut and esophagus. They can't help it. And there's this one mom who was like really embarrassed by her child's spit up. And she'd wipe his face so roughly. And it's just the complete opposite of, like, my son spits up a lot. Before I wipe his face, it's not an emergency, you know. I say, I'm going to wipe your face. Get ready for it. Because how would you like it if somebody just, you know, took a paper towel to your face and rubbed you with it without any warning? And yeah, so we were exposed to parenting that I don't agree with. I thought it was over the top. But I just follow my daughter's lead. I let her observe, and if she's curious about it, she's got the verbal skills where she'll keep repeating something because she wants me to help her process it. So after the fact, I'll say like, oh yeah, that's what happened. And we just talk about it afterward. My approach to parenting is with her, we want to have a big family. So my approach with her, so I think somebody was talking about like how to not be a helicopter parent. With my daughter, when she was first born, my philosophy was treat her like she's a second child. Like, don't be all up in her grill, let her observe. And if she needs help processing, she'll talk to me about it. Or, you know, I'll initiate the processing. So we're not really part of any mom's groups anymore, but she does socialize with her younger brother. And when it comes to sharing, I try not to intervene unless, and neither of them is aggressive. So he'll squawk at her if she takes something away and he's upset with it. And she's startled.
She'll squawk?
Oh no, my son will squawk at her if she takes
what
a
does
toy
that sound
away.
like? I mean, like what does a squawk sound like to you, Ben? What? What the heck was that? Okay, try that again. Hang on. We got to get a proper squawk here. I think everyone should imitate it, but so mine was something like that. But what do you have for a squawk?
I don't know. I kind of like imagining something, but I can't say.
It's like a chicken. They sound like a chicken being run over there. That's right.
I did terrible.
Anyone? You can try.
Other people can try. Then
Yeah,
we'll see what other people
just
are
do me a
thinking.
favor, everyone. Try it. We'll get the actual squawk, but I'm quite fascinated by this. I've never heard a child. What? Oh, very good. Very good. I saw a whole bunch of mice just scurry away from that owl. Tim, can you get a good squawk in?
That was better.
That was a very surprised owl. And Natalie, what do you got in your glottal there?
I don't know.
Oh, come on, play.
Okay, these
Come on, you got
us girls are too
Come on. Oh, no. Oh, that's just heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking.
I had to do the cute one. I just had to.
Okay, Natalie, come on. Give us a squawk. Oh, fantastic. So the... What is this? All right. Well, I think I'm the closest.
Do a better one.
Do me do a better one?
Do.
Okay. Oh, is that would be
That's
like a
more
complaint?
like a pig.
No, but that's something like the kid. Something like what? Okay, that's a squawk.
That's not a squawk.
That's close. All right.
It's not even close to squawk.
All right. So
I think
It was mostly
wanna
like
give one full
Jared.
close one or no? Okay, sorry for everyone's hearing there.
Yeah, sorry.
Do not listen to this while falling asleep. Okay, so here's all of our anticipation of what the squawk sounds like. Luna, if you could just give us what the squawk actually is.
Cute, but I can't make the noise.
Yeah, Luna.
It was mostly like Jared's squawk, so it's very startling, and it stops her in her tracks. She lets go of the toy because she's
I
like,
didn't actually hear you imitate it unless I missed something there. If you,
"Oh, I have to do it." Oh.
Yes, you
you
have.
don't have to, but I'm just curious what it sounds like.
Let's just say it sounds like Jared's.
Jared, can you give us that one more time just so we get a reference?
Yeah, something like that.
That is. Are you sure that's not something out by the bird feeder? Are you sure that's actually coming from your child? Because that sounds like something laying an egg. I just wonder, Jared, did you actually lay? Okay, we'll get to what Jared was doing. But sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I just let them sort things out for themselves. I'm right there with them to be able to intervene if I need to. But they're learning from each other how they influence each other and what their impact is. So I just don't need to intervene unless there's something aggressive happening, which there pretty much never is.
Well, you are a very calming person, and I actually feel slightly less aggressive, just even in this conversation, slightly, which is a massive breakthrough for me. So
Very slightly.
very slightly. All right. So if you want to throw in any last questions, certainly really, really appreciate everyone's time today. I'd like to thank the person who's decided to grace us with their presence almost an hour and 40 minutes into the show. Well, quite the prima donna, aren't you? All right.
Wait,
no, that's just kidding. It's nice to have you. Hi, Seth. How you doing?
Hey. Sorry,
yeah,
I thought it was Pacific.
No. We've mostly been solving problems in your family. So
Yeah, I've been just talking about you the whole time.
basically, lack of paintings and lack of wall colorings. A lack of window covering seems to be the major.
And the blue window, man, we need to discuss that.
All right. So, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry, you're a little late. We'll be doing these again, but if you wanted to tell us a little bit about yourself and your parenting history, if there is one, and all that.
Oh, that might take a little time. I guess essentially my parents weren't able to effectively make decisions as a single unit. So, my dad's anti-rational, my mom's irrational, which is a problem. It's like my dad's, but he uses a lot of non-arguments. And when I was a kid, he would, he wasn't able to persuade people because obviously anti-rational. And so he would get angry, passive-aggressive, throw temper tantrums, that sort of thing.
I'm sorry to hear about that. So we're obviously here to talk about some slightly better parenting practices. You're not a parent yet yourself, right?
Not yet, but the idea is I want to, get a grasp of it beforehand.
Would you like to tell us anything about this bachelor pad thing you've got going on here? Because I do not see much of a female touch in this entire environment. In fact, this is pretty much Ray Charles decorating approach.
Okay.
You're going to be on video. Do you think your wife would let you have an unmade bed in the background? The answer to that is no.
Man, my mom doesn't even let me have an unmade bed when there's no
When
one
you're not
coming
on
to the
video.
house during quarantine.
But we're just going to mess it up again. It doesn't matter. It's a principle of some abstract kind, and you never know when Architectural Digest is going to fly past with a helicopter and a camera. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Okay, well, my biggest problem in my life right now is that essentially I have Asperger's syndrome. And like most people with Asperger's, I'm very bright, very good at solving problems. But 90% of us are either unemployed or underemployed, right? So there's something about us that makes it very difficult for us to find work. So right now, my job is essentially, I graduated from a data science boot camp. I got a degree in computer science. And so, to support myself financially, I'm living with my parents. Not great, but, gotta do what I gotta do until I can support myself. So
I appreciate that, and hopefully some of the stuff we're talking about here will, because everyone thinks parenting topics are just about when you're a kid, right? Like when you have kids, but we all parent ourselves. We have this, the ego, the super ego, the id, we have various aspects to ourselves. I parent myself. Sometimes I'll say, okay, I'll play a little Among Us, but only if I work out at the same time. Because, then it's,
it's
we
okay
all,
then.
Yeah. No, but we all parent ourselves. So parenting topics aren't just about when you have kids. It's about how you relate to the authoritative standards within yourself.
Well, one of my favorite sayings from Jordan Peterson is you need to negotiate with yourself as if you're someone you're trying to help.
Right, absolutely right. Absolutely right. I think that's a very, very profound thing. And I sort of call it the Miko system, which is that we're not just an individual thing. We have parents in our heads, we've got teachers, we've got the media, we've got censorship, we've got deplatforming concerns, we've got blowback, we've got desire, we've got, we're a whole big complicated thing. And you really need to make sure that you negotiate with yourself well. So how we talk about parenting is also how we talk about things with ourselves. All right, let's do one last question roundtable thing. We're going to start with Izzy. Now, people who come into the chat, and listen, no hate, no problem. I'm really, really glad that people are bringing these perspectives in. It's very, very important. So there is a certain amount of snidiness or sarcasm when it comes to peaceful parenting, and Izzy's going to take a swing at this. I just checked with her earlier. And so somebody's coming in, and you hear this kind of stuff all the time. It's like the sort of commentary or the parody, in a sense, is the parent who says, "It's okay, Johnny, you may have ice cream for dinner. I want to respect your feelings as an independent human being, and so you can have your ice cream and you can stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning watching YouTube, and because that's what you want to do, and I want to honor your blah blah blah," right? So right, okay, so no, but that's a question that people come up because they think in these binary extremes, right? Like it's either you pound the kid into submission and mold them like a hard piece of plasticine into a mirror image of your own messed up self, or they completely run the roost. There's no negotiation. There's no rules. There's nothing. Like
something in between would be best.
I mean,
you need to you can't just say it's okay, Johnny, have ice cream and popsicles for dinner or whatever.
Right.
But you also you could say maybe something like, okay, well, you can have your meal first, whether it's rice, vegetables, hamburger, whatever. Have your dinner first, and then you can have some ice cream, and then maybe we can do something a little after dinner. Maybe we can watch, I don't know, one of his episodes or whatever and go to bed. But I mean, it can't be do whatever you want. Like, as your example, stay up to 3 a.m. and eat ice cream the entire time.
Well, so I remember when, have you guys ever, just raise your hands if you've seen the movie 2001, The Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So in the movie 2001, they use the music in a fantastic way. It's not actually that great a movie, and the last half of it's completely incomprehensible, but nonetheless, there is this great song. Remember how this song goes? Bum, 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 ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. It's really dramatic, right? And it's when a spaceship is docking or some big thing is happening in the movie, right? And I remember holding up the first piece of chocolate when my daughter was very little. You were very little. And I knew the moment, it's like Luna with her screens and her kids, right? The moment that this chocolate passes from my hand to my child, da 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 dum 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 dum, right? That it was going to be, you cross the Rubicon, you go to this whole new place where the kid is now aware of sugar. Of sugar.
I remember Mom was. You guys have told this before, and I remember Mom still says, "Yeah, I don't know why he gave it to her when she was 2."
Well, I like to be liked. The best way I do it was just sugar. I mean, otherwise I have to be, it's my personality, right? So I knew that given the sugar becomes a big wrestle, right? And I don't know if you remember this, but when we would talk about sugar, do you remember the tongue and the body thing?
I don't remember that.
So
actually.
I would say that there's what your tongue likes.
Oh, what your body likes, right?
And what your body likes, right? And the two are not always in step. And we all have this problem that we're drawn to bright colors. We're drawn to sugar. Do you remember why?
Because it's like it's if it's fruit and it's really good for you and it's a rare thing to have.
Yeah, it draws us to fruit. It draws us to honey, other big sources of calories, and we needed fruit in order to survive. So bright colors. That's why candies have bright colors. Skittles have bright colors,
like
and
neon.
Right.
I remember I ate one Skittle, my entire tongue turned like yellow.
That's right. That's right. So our tongue, and also we didn't evolve with candy in the environment, right? I mean, candy takes our desire for fruit and makes our brains go crazy for it, and sugar is really. Should we just take a moment?
Let's take a moment.
Let's just take a moment to enjoy even the very idea of sugar. Oh, top three sugars. Go.
I'm gonna go with Nutella.
Yeah.
Oh man, those ice cream bars.
Oh, the vanilla ice cream bars with little chocolate outings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, there's one other that I absolutely love, but I can't remember at the moment. So the third one, I'd say Oreos. Like those are like my main top three. There are definitely more. I like more, but it just like the names can't come to me at the moment.
Here's the great tragedy. Have we ever had a bag of Oreos in the house?
No.
Never.
We had like one of those little cups that we got once, and we ate like half of them, and then they went stale because we just put them at the top of the cupboard.
And you're very good at you'll take candy, you'll keep candy, but you won't eat it.
Oh,
at least that we can tell.
At least that you can tell. No, like I have this thing, or at least I did for the longest time anyways. We got rid of a bunch of it recently, or not recently, like last year, but anyways, I had like 4 Halloween bags of
giant
candy,
bags.
And I had like a little spare cupboard we were using, and I just filled it with all my candy. And it was the candy cupboard or candy drawer or something like that. And I just had bags and bags of candy. Like I wouldn't eat it, I'd just like have it and I'd collect it.
Oh, you could invade Russia with these things. Like you could feed an army like throughout a Cossack winter.
I had like a bag. I just like sit in it. I'd be like, okay, that's a lot of chocolate. Let's just sit in it now.
Right, and so teaching you that, and look, we all. I don't know if you guys are sugar addicts. I mean, raise your hand if you like sugar maybe a little too much. Anybody?
Both my hands.
Luna, sorry, there's something above you. I think there's a spider coming down. If you just wanted to make her feel included in the conversation. But
I think my eye may have come on camera.
Oh, it's fine. So that's that issue of sugar. Yes, what your tongue likes and what your body likes, and the two, like your body likes vegetables, your tongue doesn't like them as much because they were more common. Your tongue likes sugar and salt and fats a lot of times, but your body doesn't like it as much. And just trying to get that match up now. But of course, the first thing you want to do if you want your kids to eat well is you have to be somewhat committed to eating well yourself, right? I mean, you have to just model that behavior. It's like you can't expect your kids to learn a language you don't speak, like when they're little, right? It's exposure. Yeah. So, I mean, you don't see me mowing down. Every now and then I'll, have like a little dessert thing or something like that, or Mom makes these great Greek cookies and all of that. Which sorry,
hey, excuse me, I helped us too. No.
Stop talking about this when on camera, drooling away. But no, I mean, so you have to kind of model that behavior yourself, and you have to explain, what the body needs and what the tongue likes, and there's kind of a dance in life between those things. Like the people who remember there's this COVID symptom, like people will lose their sense of taste. And that's really tragic, right? That sucks. And you were like, I can see the upside of that.
I can see the upside of that. Like, I'd never have any sugar again. I'd eat so healthy.
Right. But you got to have pleasure in life, but you also want to aim for a long life. So, it's kind of a balance but
candy.
But candy, yeah. So you model it, you talk about it, but you don't just sit there and say, if the kid wants ice cream for dinner and to stay up till 3:00 in the morning watching YouTube, you don't just say, well, I'm going to respect your desires as an independent human being.
gotta say no sometimes.
And well, but say no with a reason, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you remember the speech about what we have to deliver you to.
Yeah, you should deliver me to adulthood, being like reasonable and good.
Yeah. So the way I sort of explained it, yeah, we, our job is to deliver our children to adulthood, and when they're adults, we want them to look back and say, the decisions you made for me as a child are reasonably good decisions, or the decisions you helped me to make, or whatever, right? So if your kid grows up, they're 18 years old, they're significantly overweight, they got teeth problems, they've got nutritional issues, they've got, I don't know, whatever the effects are of no exercise and bad food, are they going to say, I'm really, really glad that you let me have all that candy when I was a kid? Of course they're not going to say that.
No, they're not. They're going to be like, why didn't you make me exercise?
They're going to be mad at you because now you set them up for a life of battling weight, and you've set them up for a life of problems with their knees and joints and right.
It's going to be hard for them. Like if they're a girl, I know like if you're really overweight, it can be difficult to get pregnant sometimes.
That's right.
And also like just if you're really overweight, people obviously don't find that very attractive.
No, it can be tough to clean yourself.
It can also be hard to just like get married and have dates and
yeah. So like there's not a lot of kids who and a lot of kids are facing weight issues. There's not a lot of kids who they're going to get to adulthood and then they're going to say, yeah, it was really great you let me have all of those cookies when I was so.
Thanks for letting me eat ice cream for dinner and stay up till 3 a.m. Now I can't. I'm really tired all the time.
Yeah, that's like your kids are going to really be angry at you, and for good reason, when they become adults, if you haven't delivered to them. Now, again, if you have, it's another sort of question too, like if you have this dour, no, you can't have any pleasure because that's irresponsible kind of thing, then they may look back and say, a couple of bits of candy would not have been the end of the world, and it would make childhood a little bit more sparkly and fun. So I don't know. I'm sort of an Aristotelian middle of the road kind of guy, and I know some people are very anti-sugar, and I can really understand that as well. There's some arguments for that too, but I really want, when she's now 12 and a half ish, right? So she's going to be an adult in math years. Wait, what was it?
Wait, what?
Just kidding.
Wait, what?
Carry the 4. No, so she's going to be adult. She's going to be relatively soon, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to look back and say, yeah, I think the decisions you made were good. These are decisions I can consider replicating with my own kids. But just what are the kids going to be feeling if you just let them have ice cream for dinner all the time? How are they going to view your parenting when they're old and have massive health issues?
It's in a short time, but not when they're older.
Well, yeah, and they won't respect you either if you don't have a presence. And like two people both have to be present for a negotiation, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we make jokes about it, but if I folded on everything, it would be kind of tough to have any relationship with me because I wouldn't be there in a way,
yeah.
Right? So you got to negotiate, and if you folded. Sorry, if you folded on everything, it wouldn't be a relationship either, right? The whole point is.
Oh my goodness, me when it comes to like an argument or like not an argument, like a discussion or something like that, like absolutely no, never. Yeah. I never fold on anything.
No, but you have to.
I mean, I do, but not really.
No, we fold on reason and legitimate requests and stuff like that. But no, you have to both be there to be negotiating. And if you're just saying to your kid, "Eat whatever you want for dinner," then you're not actually there. As a person, you're not actually having a relationship. To eliminate your own needs in a relationship is to not be in a relationship, just to be exploited or whatever it is. So sorry for the long speech, but how would you guys answer this? It's okay, Johnny. You can have ice cream for dinner. I want to respect your feelings as an independent human being. Do whatever you want. I
have a thought related to that. Can you imagine? Can you imagine running a business that way? Hey, I know you want 60% of my company for $5,000. I'm going to respect your thoughts as a human being, and there you go. Oh, I know you want to come into work at noon. Sure, why not? I'm going to respect your thoughts as a human being.
Well, Seth, you make an absolutely brilliant point that I'm going to pretend is mine. All right. So, no, that's because here's the thing, too. You want to prepare your kids for adulthood. And of course, adults, when they go out into the world, they're not going to have that relationship where people can just, do whatever you want. It doesn't matter, express your inner blah, blah, blah. That's not how the world works. And you do need to prepare your kids, if you taught your kids some secret language that was only you and your kids knew, and then they had to go out into the world and try and function, it'd be pretty tough, right?
It would be.
And so, yeah, the world isn't going to treat you like just do whatever you want. And so, yeah, giving your kids that is actually not being a good parent because you're not preparing them for the real world. So, yeah, it's a great concept.
I do have a question.
Yes,
so
go ahead.
The way that I manage my sugar intake is essentially a quota. So I'm not doing to the gram or anything like that, but it's like I only really consume sugar maybe a little bit when I'm working or, after dinner. So it's like, hey, so for me to be healthy, I've decided to do X, and, I'd like you to be healthy too, so would you be willing to do the same thing or something to that effect? In your experience being a parent, do you think something like that would be an effective way to peacefully parent your children?
I think as long as the kid's going to understand why the decisions are being made, then I think that's important. And, you will, when you're out in the world, you will see kids who are overweight, right? And you'll see them at the play centers, you'll see them at the parks, and they won't be able to do those hand over hand things. They'll be out of breath.
I was so mad when I was too young and I couldn't do those.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So you'll see, and you'll say, you don't want to have that, sort of pointed out, right? And use them as a, without shaming or anything, but use them as a learning example and say, remember how that kid couldn't climb the rope? That's not particularly great. And if you're at the water park and there are kids who are having trouble with the water park because of being overweight, you can say, well, you don't want to be that way, or you can say, if I was overweight, I couldn't come and do all of these cool things with you. I couldn't go to the water park very easily. I couldn't, do the playing in the play centers and so on. And you like that I can do that. And if my parent had let me eat too much, then I wouldn't be able to. So just having a lot of conversations. That, yeah. You want a 360 mirror the whole thing so that. They look at the overweight kid and say, well, yeah, I don't really want that. And then, we talked about this a while ago about how, dieting is, I don't know if it's a huge scam or anything like that, but, how many people who are overweight, significantly overweight, how many people lose weight and keep it off? Do you remember we talked about this?
It was like 98% don't do it.
98% of people who, want to lose weight, either don't lose the weight, they gain the weight, or they lose the weight and put back as much, if not more. Like once you have that weight, it's
really hard to lose.
It's a lifelong struggle. It's a lot of problems, and why would you want that? Or as the saying goes, once on the lips, forever on the hips. It's a sort of female statement, right? You enjoy the pleasure of the taste once, but it stays on your belly forever, right? So
we often have a bit of sugar, sometimes a little bit after lunch. Like, well, my mom will make these cookies in a hopper. They're like not very sugary. We reduce all the sugar in the recipes and stuff. They're basically just kind of Greek cookies.
Yeah.
So we'll sometimes have one of those after lunch, and maybe a little something after dinner if we have any other desserts. But we really don't have that much, and it's not every day. It's often, I think I mentioned this before, like we'll have our sugar on the weekends, and we try not to have really any during the week. So we don't have a lot of sugar, so I think it's good not to have a lot of sugar, but I think occasionally just letting yourself have a bunch can be okay. But
well, I remember when I first so I was sort of paying my own bills since I was 15, and by the time I got to university, I really wanted to be in university. I really wanted to do well. Whereas a lot of the kids who, their parents were paying, they didn't take it very seriously. And you want to teach kids discipline by exposing them to temptation in a way and having them manage it, right? Because the thing where I experimented with a bit of drinking alcohol when I was in I was like, 17 or whatever. And I was like, oh, this is really not any fun. So when I went to college, I didn't really have any interest in drinking in particular, right? And again, I'm not saying do anything against the law or anything, but if you simply keep all temptation away from your kids, I'm not sure that you're teaching them how to manage the inevitable temptations that are going to occur in life when you're old enough. Like when I was a kid, I don't know if you ever had this thought. You're a kid and this is the evil thing they do at the grocery stores. They put all of the bright candy at eye level on the checkout counter and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, oh man, I can't wait till when I have a paycheck.
I think that all the time.
You think that?
It's starting to happen a little less, but whenever I'm a kid, not whenever I'm a kid, sorry. Like when I was younger, I always look at these candies and I'm just like, oh man, when I become like 15 or 20, like when I become 15 and I get like, I don't know, maybe I'll get a job and I can maybe like I thought when I was older I'd just get more allowance and stuff, but I actually asked to like not get allowance because I'm like I'm gonna do more stuff by just like actually like I help my mom clean the house, I get a little bit of money.
You wanted us to store up your allowance so you'd get it all at once and feel more meaningful, right?
It wouldn't actually like, no, I just asked for no allowance and asked like I'll do it occasionally from getting a little bit off the shows because like you get donations and I help out with some of these shows. Like this one is an example. But I mean I also help my mom clean the house and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'll say I will take no allowance just for this. But I mean, I didn't really think that to happen when I was really young. I was like, more money, the better.
Well, and the more money means you can buy more candy.
Yeah, well, that's what I always, like, my main goal when I was younger was to get candy. So, I mean, I was like, when I get a paycheck or my allowance goes up, I will buy all this candy and I'll just
scoop
eat
it all up. I'm going to come with the entire shopping cart.
Now
Clean
I'm
out the place.
Hoarder when it comes to money. I'll be like, oh my goodness, that's $3. Can I pay it?
Oh, yeah. No, and I remember, I forgot about that we gave you an allowance and then you said you didn't want it because, felt it was reasonable to do the chores anyway.
Yeah, I was like, I think I was 9 when I'm like, you know what, I'll just not take an allowance and I'll take my money. I'll like actually work for my money instead of just like
get it for breathing.
Chores.
Yeah. All right. So, sorry for that divergence, but so if you guys wanted to, and we'll stick to the people who have kids at the moment. Sorry for Jared and Seth, but Tim, how do you deal with this sort of caricature of peaceful parenting that it's just complete, license for hedonism for the kids?
Yeah. So one thing that we do is I reverse the negotiation. So she asks for something and then I say no. And then she goes, well, but I say, well, we're not done yet. Why don't you try to make a deal with me? Like, what are you going to give me in exchange for that? Like, appeal to my profit motive. And she's like, what's that? And I'm like, you got to make me want to do it too, and you can maybe, keep making different offers and we'll see if you can change my mind. Yeah. So, one other thing is, and I really wanted to say this because, discipline is a lot like the state, I think. So, and then, so people will say that minarchism is okay, but, what we know is that a small state will grow into a large one over time. And if you're having, a little bit of discipline, like spanking and yelling, it's and I'm just thinking there might be somebody else out there like me that it's really not, it's like a fire. You can't control it. It will get bigger and bigger to some point where you're going like, whoa, what am I doing here? So it's better to just put the fire out than to try to, and then the other thing is that it just doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work. And I just look back and I just think, man, I just did not have any grace for my sweet little, 2-year-old. And and they will do things that you just go, wow, just yesterday we were in a hotel and we let her run around in the halls a little bit and she pulled the fire alarm, so the whole hotel had to get out. And or you'll at the house you'll find the corner that she'll find a nail polish and she'll kind of paint the corner of the room with the nail polish.
But you see, what you can say to your kid is thank you for helping make the day so memorable for Daddy that it will never be just a blurry day. Thank you for giving me a great story and all that kind of stuff as well, right? But that's partly preparation, right? As you should go when you get to the hotel. If you can let her run around the hallway, you got to tell her this red box is only for fire. This is part of prep, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and then the way she looks at me now and she goes, "Are you mad at me?" And I'm like, "I'm not mad. I mean, I'm not mad." And and I could just see how much concern she had. And then she goes, "Oh, okay." I'm like, and then we do explain, there's a little red box. Don't touch that.
Or if you do touch it, at least set a fire. So that it's justified in some manner. Just kidding. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh.
But I just say you need to have grace for your kids, especially the little ones. Because they deserve it, and then they don't really know what they're doing. And the sooner you can just realize, just factor in from the start that they're going to do a lot of stuff like that. And then when it happens, you go, okay, well, you've ripped this nice piece of art off the wall. And they're just like that a little bit. So I would just say factor in the grace
Well,
from the
how long would it
start.
take for you to get used to if you were abducted by aliens and went to a completely alien
Yeah.
planet? How long would it take, or Japan? How long would it take for you to get entirely used to the situation, the environment, the language, to feel perfectly at home? It would take you years and years and years, and you'd make a bunch of mistakes, and right, that's just natural, right?
Yeah.
But if they weren't making mistakes, there'd be no point to parent. You'd turn them loose at the hospital after they're
Yeah.
born, right?
Like, have fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I do regret it. And the other thing, one last thing is because I remember you had a podcast where you were talking about, like turning parenting into a real-time relationship discussion. And then it's been very helpful for me to empower my 5-year-old, because I tell her that it's not just an option for me to be nice to her or not. I have to be nice to her, because when she gets older, she's going to have the ability, I'm explaining this, she understands this, like when she gets older, she's going to have the ability to not see me or be around me. And if I'm not nice to her now, then when she gets older, she's going to be able to avoid me. And then, so I think she understands that. She goes, oh, well, you're not doing this just because you're being nice, but because you're doing it for your own profit. Like that gives her power in the relationship. And then I also use that for her when, sometimes they get rough with each other, and especially when they're first starting out. Like that, I've seen my, now 5-year-old like hit my 3-year-old like pretty hard. But and then I say, you can't do stuff like that. And she goes, for the same argument, when you guys get older, she might not want to see you when you become adults. And if you're not nice to her now, like you want to be friends forever, the A to Z thing. And I really think that argument was something that she comprehended well, and is really useful for modifying their behavior.
Oh yeah, we've had those conversations too. You'll have to see me when you get older, and my goal, of course, is to hopefully continue to provide value to you as we go forward in life, right?
Just give me some chocolate and I'll be totally happy.
That's why the sugar. That's why bribery is so important. Okay,
you gotta bribe the children with chocolate and they'll stay.
All right, Natalie, what are your thoughts on this issue of permissiveness and peaceful parenting?
Yeah, I've heard some arguments about like, oh, peaceful parenting, like, well, that's fine, but kids need discipline, or they, and it's like it's not an either or, and discipline, like the root of the word is to teach, and it's discipline is not about punishment. It's about teaching the skills that your child is showing you that they maybe need practice with. Like so I would say that if somebody wants to characterize peaceful parenting as, oh, you just let them do whatever they want because you have to respect their preferences and stuff, and like that ignores parental responsibility, as you say, to like deliver them to adulthood as intact, capable human beings. And maybe a 3-year-old doesn't understand that, like, and you can explain, and I've used your what the tongue wants and what the tummy wants with sugar and stuff, like those types of explanations really help. Like, I'm not saying no because I don't want you to be happy. I'm saying no because it's my job to help you stay healthy. It's my job to help you regulate some of these things until you can do it yourself.
It's like being a doctor. The doctor doesn't say things to you because the doctor's mean. The doctor is trying to help you be healthy. I mean, so you got to take some feedback, right?
Right. So it's not either strict authoritarian, like my way or the highway, or the kids walk all over you. Like that's not what peaceful parenting or respectful parenting is at all. And it has more to do with listening to what your child, or watching and observing what your child is showing you through their action, you know, especially with the little kids who are maybe, you know, it's less of the verbal negotiations and more of like watching your child, you know, if they're struggling with something or they're being overwhelmed by feelings they can't express, and they, you know, they want to pinch you or, you know, stomp or slug their brother or whatever, you know, you're you know, you're kind of I've heard it described as like scaffolding, right? Like, so while the building is being built, you as a parent, you're like the scaffolding that's helping, you know, build those connections in their brain.
Or like the training wheels.
Yeah, like you're helping, you're providing them that support and opportunities to practice. You know, a kid isn't just gonna resist sugar on their own because it's a good thing, you know, like they maybe need, you know, okay, this is what sugar is, and yes, it's delicious, and, you know, all right, and, you know, so this is why we don't have it all the time or too much. And then, you know, sure, you can have some, and then when, you know, when the answer is sometimes no, or when it's okay, well, that's enough, we're stopping for today, like, you know, helping them cope with that limit, helping them work through that and practice, like, it's okay, I really like sugar, but it's not, you know, it's not helping, you know, it's not helping me grow. My body needs variety. Like, you know, you can help provide them with those, you know, by providing those limits and those opportunities to practice the things that they do need to learn. Like, that's what in my view, that's what discipline is
And
help
empathy,
them.
right? Yeah, I mean, so Izzy, how many times if you said, would you like some sugar? And I say,
No.
but I say
No.
first,
Yes,
yeah.
I'd love to.
I'd love
but
some
I
sugar,
won't.
but I, you know, it's not great for me or whatever. So yeah, I mean, you know, when your kid says, I really, really want a candy bar, you're like, not as much as I do. I love sugar too. I love all of this kind of stuff, right? So, you know, the kid can then recognize that you also want the sugar, that it's not like, no, sugar's bad for you, you shouldn't want the sugar. Like, that's, you know, we all have that. And it may not be sugar, it could be something else, right? So,
Yeah.
Luna, do you wanna take us home with this issue, if it exists, around this caricature? Maybe the moms group are like, oh, that Luna, she just lets her kids do whatever they want. It's like, well, kind of, but if you raise your kids right, what they want to do is not crazy, at least hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah. So we offer lots of options, but we recognize that we are the models for our kids. So for my daughter, she actually thinks that muscle milk is a treat. From 18 months, she's known about fiber, fat, and protein, and what they're all good for. She knows that sugar tastes good, but it's not particularly good for you. She is a fruit fiend, but she knows there's just a little bit of fiber. It's mostly sugar. So she always asks for more fruit. And I just let her know, you know, we've had enough for breakfast. We'll have some more for lunch. How's that? And then she's satisfied with, that response. And
That's just,
basically
by the way, that's Luna's kids texting her because they're on speeds. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.
And then basically I load her up with options all day. So when I do have to have some non-negotiable things like you have to hold my hand when we cross the street, or actually our options right now are you hold my hand or I pick you up. Which would you like to do? Because that's how we can be safe, and it's my job to protect you. And she basically has very little resistance to any demands that I make because I load her up with options all day, and she's just really happy with that.
Oh, fantastic. Well, listen, guys, I feel we could talk about this all day. Really, really appreciate everyone dropping by. Thanks so much. Thanks, Izzy.
that was really fun. We should do another one of these.
We should do another one of these. I know we've got great feedback from people in the audience, and Jared has several offers of marriage and babysitting. So we'll obviously be forwarding those for a certain price. And yeah, thanks everyone so much.
Bitcoins.
2 Bitcoins. Thanks everyone so much for dropping by, and give us your feedback below if you want to help out with the show. Freedomain.com/donate. I'd appreciate that. And yeah, really, really appreciate, everybody open their hearts and minds. It's the biggest human thing that we've got going on that we can really control is the parenting stuff. And I just love you guys all so much for dropping by and sharing all of the stuff with everyone. And you can send your questions. I guess you can send them to callin@freedomain.com. If you'd like us to chew on other stuff, or if you want to join in, you can join my freedomain.locals group, so freedomain.locals.com. You can join that group. I'll be posting the invites there as well for next time. Mwah! Lots of love from up here. Big hugs to all the kids out there and all the parents. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon. Bye.
Bye.